Hi guys, how are you doing? Well, this is Mrs. Gonsalver again. You're gonna probably be bored of me, um, but guess what? I'm gonna keep doing these videos. How's been your day, guys? I really hope that you've been working really hard on your assignments, and I really hope that you can keep yourself busy. Okay? If for some reason you are getting really, it's just really hard. Just let me know. All right. Um, so I wanted to do something nice for you guys. I don't know if you read before you go to bed. I think that is a great thing for you to read. Sorry if you're going to be hearing a lot of background. My son is watching Cars, and he's around, so you might be seeing him while I'm reading this book. So, we're going to read The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. I don't know why. I just love this whole series because they just have a really good theme and a lesson. So remember that we've been learning what is the lesson of the story. So now we're going to think about what is the lesson of this story. So let's go ahead and let's start. Um, Here it is. It says, this is a tale. I'm going to kind of like move it so that you guys can see it. This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel. And his name was Nutkin. He had a brother called Twinkleberry and a great many cousins. They lived in a wood at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake, there is an island covered with trees and nut bushes, and amongst those trees stands a hollow oak tree, which is the house of an owl who is called Old Brown. Take a look at that. Yeah, okay. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe and the leaves on the hazel bushes were golden and green, Nutkin and Twinkleberry and all the other little squirrels came out of the wood and down to the edge of the lake. Hmm. They made little raft out of twigs and they paddled away over the water to Owl Islands to gather nuts. Each squirrel had a little sack and a large oar and spread out his tail for a sail. They also look with them an offering of three fat mice as a present for Old Brown. So far, what is happening in the story? So far, the squirrels are going to ask permission to the old Mr. Brown. Do you think he's going to grant it? We'll see. Then Twinkleberry and the other little squirrels each made a low bow and said politely, Old Mr. Brown, will you favor us with permission to gather nuts upon your island? Look at them, they're bowing in there. Okay. But Nutkin was excessively impertinent in his manners. He bobbed up and down like a little herd cherry singing, riddle me, root toot toot, a little wee man in a red coat, a staff in his hand and a stone in his throat. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a groat. Now, this riddle is as old as the hills. Mr. Brown paid no attention whatever to Nutkin. She shut his eyes obstinately and went to sleep. Look at them right now. Okay. The squirrel filled their little sacks with nuts and sailed away home in the evening. But next morning they all came back again to Owl Island, and Twinkleberry and the others brought a fine fat mole and laid it on the stone in front of Old Brown's doorway and said, Mr. Brown, will you favor us with your gracious permission to gather some more nuts? That's very nice of the squirrels, isn't it? But Nutkin, who had no respect, began to dance up and down, twinkling old Mr. Brown with a needle and singing, Oh, Mr. Bear, riddle me, hitty bitty within the wall, hitty bitty without the wall. If you touch him, Petey, hitty bitty will bite you. Mr. Brown woke up suddenly and carried the mold into his house. That Nutkin is pretty crazy, though. Twinkleberry and six other little squirrels each carry a fat minnow this time. But Nutkin, who had no mice manners, brought no present at all. He ran in front singing, The man in the wilderness said to me, How many strawberries grow in the sea? I answer him, as I thought good, as many red herring as grow in the wood. But old Mr. Brown took no interest in riddles, not even when the answer was provided for him. On the fourth day, the squirrels brought a present of six fat beetles, which were as good as plums in plum pudding. for Old Brown. Each beetle was wrapped up carefully in a dark leaf fastened with a pine needle pin, but Nutkin sent as rudely as ever. Old Mr. B, Riddle, Riddle, Me, Flower of England, Fruit of Spain, met together in a shower of rain, put in a bag tied around with a string. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a ring. Which was ridiculous of Nutkin because he had not got any ring to give to Old Brown. That Nutkin is pretty bad, isn't he? And besides, Mr. Brown is giving them the opportunity to go and, get some nuts in there. The other squirrels hunted up and down the nut bushes, but Nutkin gathered robins concussions off a briar bush and stuck them full of pine needle pins. That kid, he's no good, huh? On the fifth day, the squirrels brought a present of wild honey. It was so sweet and sticky. Where are we? That they licked their fingers as they put it down. They had stolen it out of a bumblebee's nest on the tippity top of the hill. But Nutkin skipped up and down singing, hum a bum, buzz buzz, hum a bum buzz, as I went over tippity time. I met a flock of bonny swine, some yellow naked, some yellow baked, nacked. They were the very bonniest swine that went over tipple time. Old Mr. Brown turned up his eye in disgust at the impertinence of Nutkin, but he ate up the honey. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts, but Nutkin sat upon a big flat rock and played ninepins with a crab apple and green fir combs. On the sixth day, which was Saturday, the squirrels came again for the last time. They brought a new laid egg in a little rush basket. But Nutkin ran in front laughing and shouting, Humpy Dumpy, listen the beck, with the white counterpane brown his neck. I don't know, guys. 40 doctors and 40 rights cannot put Humpty Dumpty to rights. I don't know if I did it right. Now, old Mr. Brown took an interest in eggs. He opened on one eye and shut it again. But still, he did not speak. Look at Mr. Brown. He looks kind of upset, doesn't he? Kind of scared Mr. Brown. Nutkin became more and more impertinent. Old Mr. B, hickamore, hackamore on the king's kitchen door. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't drive hickamore, hackamore off the king's kitchen door. Nutkin danced up and down like a sunbeam, but still Old Brown said nothing at all. I think he's very patient, Mr. Old Brown. Nutkin began again. Arthur O'Browner has broken his hand. He comes roaring up the land. The king of scouts, with all his power, cannot turn Arthur off the bower. Nutkin made a whirling noise to sound like the wind, and he took a running jump right onto the head of Old Brown. Then all at once there was a flutterment and a scufflement and a loud squeak. The other squirrels cuttered away into the bushes. When they came back very cautiously, peeping around the trees, there was Old Brown sitting on his doorstep, quite still, with his eyes closed as if nothing has happened. But Nutkin was in his waistcoat pocket. Ooh, he caught Nutkin. Good for him. He was pretty mean. But at the same time, I feel bad for the kid, though. Well, for the squirrel. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Old Brown carried Nutkin into his house and held him up by the tail, intending to skin him. But Nutkin pulled so very hard that his tail broke into two, and he dashed up the staircase and escaped out of the attic window. And to this day, if you meet Nutkin up a tree and ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you and stump his feet and scold and shout, cuck, 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 cur, cuck. What do you think is the lesson of this story? I personally think that the lesson of this story is to always be nice. Nutkin was not nice. He was always making fun of him when, Mr. B was actually giving them permission to go and grab nuts, right? So I think that that was a big lesson for him to learn. Another lesson that I think that it is very important is that Nutkin was not even looking at the big picture. He was not working at all like the old squirrels. And that's what happened. The other squirrels, they just ran away, right? So I think that it's important for us to be always nice to people, to realize that we all need from each other. We all, need help, and Nutkins were not being nice. I hope that you guys have a good night. I'm gonna try and make more videos. I have a lot of collection of these books. I really like them. They're pretty, you know, big books, so I think that is perfect for fourth graders. And my son really enjoys them, even though he's 2 years old. So I miss you guys. I love you. Always remember that your teacher is here for you. I know. I wish that I could give you a big hug. Remember when we were doing hugs or air hugs? I sent you a lot of them. Mwah. Love you all. Have a good night.